Jarvan. We'll actually get the Jace ban continuing for JDG.
Yeah, and I'm looking at pretty much the exact same setup in terms of the drafting as we saw in game number 1. So whether or not that ends up making a difference as we move a little bit later, we will see. A lot of focus from that blue side as the side that now needs to ban away the OP champions on the Jace, the Orianna. We'll see if we get a little bit more jungle focus as well, as that is probably the strongest point of this AL composition of players. Whether Tarzan ends up getting another put of focus, another element of focus put his way.
He needs it. I mean, if there's going to be one person you want to put on a pedestal going into this game number 2 to right the ship, to right the wrongs, you got to give it to Tarzan. Give him whatever he wants to play. Maybe not whatever he wants to play. He does like to pick some weird stuff.
It's time for Nidalee.
Give him something. This guy's a key piece to the puzzle for AL, and Tabe knows that, and so he wants to send JunJia on things that can be proactive, that can be active on the map. And you saw it from that first scuttle contest. You know they're going to be there fighting, and because of some things going a little bit wrong for AL, JDG came out the better of it. But we see the Nico ban finally as that final ban for JDG. We saw the Jax join the bans table for AL, and we'll see what this first pick is going to be. This is a Varus that was banned away in the first phase of game number 1.
It was, and I love the AL bans here to set up for this. Ban tank, ban Jarvan, ban Jax, AD carry
jump on him.
Let me play the game. Hope he's sick of getting destroyed by topside champions that destroy AD carries. This is a good pick, and it's just quite funny to look at this from a thematic sense of anyone's Legends bot side. But this was a pick as well that was focused by JDG. It was focused in the second round of bans by them in the first game, but taking this nice and early, it's a good denial from Kael, and it also very solid versus these immobile mid laners versus these immobile bot laners as well. So Hope going to be under threat. We would expect Shanks to have to try and diversify what kind of champion he's going to play here. We've seen him go for the Akali, for the Yone on occasion, but you start to think, is that the case that you want to take that blind, or are we looking at something a little bit different?
I gotta say though, Vampire's not making his job easy here on the Bard. He's really gonna have to be mechanically sound on those ultimates, but also the CC chaining and where he is on the map. Really love the combination with the Xin Zhao though, and how expedient you can be in moving around the map and linking up with your support. Now AL need to figure out what they want in that 2v2. They're going to go with something with even more pressure in the poke game as the Karma comes through.
Yeah, and I mean, this is now a 2v2 that you pretty much can't win if you're playing JDG. So Gala going to have to try and take a pick and sit back and relax, knowledge in the fact that
Ziggs,
he's not expected to come out on top of this. Ziggs would not be a bad pick at all. I would not be surprised if it either gets locked in here or is sort of answered as a ban by AL in that second phase. Maybe the MF as an effort to try and have some sort of early game prio. Maybe a Caitlyn could come through if they're feeling particularly bold like that, but even still. For AL, they've picked themselves up now that top lane tank, a stable part of their composition that was very sorely missing in game number 1, right? Flandre on the Rumble, we were talking off screen, Mazel didn't quite look like the powerhouse that we knew him to be. Finds himself back on the Sion, so he's going to be a frontline. He's going to be able to stand in front of JDG. But I think that this time round, the Sivir pick actually makes a lot of sense for Gala. If he just whacks the Sion a lot, the ricochet comes through, and all of a sudden you're dealing damage to the backline.
I love it though. You brought it up before we got into game number 1. It's not flashy. It's kind of boring, you said, but it is a pick that can find wins and have that super scaling that we know Sivir to have. Now, that being into the Varus, and if AL try to up the tempo of this game, I think can really throw a wrench into that. But as we get into the second phase of bans, I do wonder if we are going to get some more of that jungle priority towards Tarzan. It looks like already we got the Wukong ban there, as well as the Mbessa ban towards Xiaoxu as well.
Yeah, so this is again a large focus away from Xiaoxu. We'll see with the Jax off the board, with the Mbessa taken out as well. Are we going to hit Renekton off the board as well to just three-peat this guy out of the top lane? Or is that a matchup that Flandre's happy with? Maybe even the Gwen something to consider, as that's very frequently a bit of an answer to the Sion on that top side. And with AP being sorely missing from JDG's composition, wouldn't be surprised if that ended up being taken as well. Still curious as to what AL are going to round out the rest of their composition with, though. With the Bard threatening, you don't ever really want to take these immobile mages or an immobile jungler really. So AL got a little bit of a question mark to answer there. For JDG, they've got a very go-in composition already with the Bard who can extend and engage from range, Sivir to follow up with all of that. We will see if they continue to double down on all of this, and I think that a top lane dive champion could go working really well with their composition, and then looking at what they're going to round out with the rest of the mid lane.
Well, we saw the Pantheon and the Zahen are the final bans. The Gwen gets locked in, which is another big pick with the scaling department that we saw last year in the LPL at least. But AL need to pick some core pieces here. They've got to figure out what they want in mid and jungle, and that synergy is extremely important.
Yeah, and I wonder what it will be for AL here. This is obviously a look towards something that's, again, not got too much mobility. Maybe the move speed from Rise passive plus the phase rush could come through, but again, getting caught out in that mid to late game with that Tempered Fate definitely on the cards for these AL carries. See what jungler it is now, as they've got a lot of poke here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something line up with that. Maybe go for something that's going to try and enable that, but instead...
Come on.
Offering something a little bit different.
I think Tarzan is
to try
one of the best poppies, if not the best. He rivals JunJia on his poppy play, and they are so incredibly cerebral when they play these champions. These are champions that they're willing to take early invades on, level 2s, level 3s, and find advantages. And I'm so excited to see Tarzan pulling out what I feel like right now is broken poppy.
Yeah. This AL composition again has me with some question marks. Their damage is very lacking. This Anivia pick is beautiful, right? Any engage from Flandre, wall. Poppy's looking to charge at me, wall. Rise and Varus are caught out, wall. Immobile carries in this game are just going to have no fun whatsoever. Bard and Anivia thrive up against these immobile people. Gwen as well is going to be able to chase you down. She's got a dash on a 4-second cooldown with invulnerability. I think JDG have hit bingo here, hit the jackpot in terms of what they're looking for, and AL have almost played into that. Flandre is going to have a massive performance on the Scion to prevent access to that backline. Hope and Shanks are going to have to find damage in Varus's kit that I don't know that it exists if he goes for the poke build, and I think that Shanks, obviously on this rise, we know it can do damage as we move later on into the game, but he's going to have to be prolific in his positioning and his skill shots, because if he lets one go wide, he doesn't have the DPS to carry the fight.
Dude, Tabe's sitting back there like, he played right into my hand.
They did.
He's got exactly what they wanted, and I love we get to see HongQ with the Anivia. We get to see some spice from the CFO time between them in that game number 1 as well, and continuing that kind of pace of play. I feel like they're going to try to be pretty proactive on their side, and that play is going to be centered around Vampire, JunJia, and HongQ.
And Rise can never really look to threaten an Anivia either, because as soon as you hit level 6, again, the power of this wall is crazy. Like, the power of a Crystallize just is so strong versus immobile carries. Rise looks to threaten you with a Rune Prison, wall. He tries to threaten you post level 6 with a Rune Prison, ulti, stun, wall. It's so tricky.
Well, we're getting into it now. Game 2 in the Tabe Bowl. JDG versus AL. They've already found one CC. Gonna pop the heal there. Interestingly enough.
Oh. GG.
Oh, things are not going good for AL. All right.
And again, to reiterate here, my concerns for this composition that AL have is that they won't have enough damage as they move later on into the game to out DPS Xiaoxu, JunJia, and the rest of that. I mean, we talked about the bans, about this being the we will ban for our AD carry type of banning with Jarvan and Jax taken off the board. And then we just get locked into 2 champions that mean I can't auto-attack them with Xin Zhao and Gwen. This champion is immune duo was so prevalent at the start of, I think, 2024 almost, this duo was so prevalent. But the circles of no fun for AD carries are back in action, and we'll see whether or not it is that Hope can do anything. And
I'm just going to shout it out. They're using AL's Kryptonite against them. I think Tabe knows what he's doing over there. They have Bard Carrier skin on
True.
Vampire. So they got the secret weapon. All of a sudden the Kryptonite starts hitting and AL can't do anything. We'll see if that actually remains true. But in terms of the map state. It looks like we're going to be a much similar version of what game number 1 had in the quick clears towards bot side for both junglers, and what is sure to be a contest over the scuttle.
So, yeah, I mean, down on that bot side, but again, Varus Karma is somehow getting pushed in. The Bard and the Sivir are doing really well. I think the power of that Sivir early on is that she can just ricochet the wave. She might have to trade a little bit of health for it, but you can see there's not too much of a response, and this is what Sivir does really well, is neutralize these really threatening lanes, move up into this attacking of a wave, and push that wave underneath the turret. Not too much that you can do as Hope and Kael unless you want to try and flip an all in, but you're going to have to do that in their wave, and you're just going to lose. So really good start out to this bot side, and it means that Prio in that crab is going to go the way of JDG. We'll see whether or not Tarzan's able to do anything with that, but you can see he's already working his way up to the top side. He knows he's not going to get anything down in that bot lane. My question, or my sort of theory for this jungle role this game is, Tarzan's going to have to try and focus in this mid lane. The second Anivia dings 6, it becomes pretty much impossible to try and make anything happen versus her, because she's just going to slow you with her ulti and stop anything and just constantly clear waves. But up until then, she's quite susceptible, so try and burn that egg. Try to get a advantage going your way. You know, let's start looking at how we can play our advantages or play our composition as best as possible, and I think for the most part, getting that early lead once again is going to be tantamount to success for anyone's Legend.
And we'll see exactly how they want to do that here. As it was a calm, cool, and collected first clear. No crazy fights, no game-deciding moments. But we'll get back onto the map for both junglers, probably pathing back down towards bot side to potentially set up for a dragon. We did see JDG get out in front with those stackings in that last game. Vampire does take a pretty hefty chunk there, and some of that poke prowess is coming through for AL.
And he's got 3 shrines to be able to keep himself in check with, so he'll be quite happy to try and get that little bit of HP back. And a little bit of foreshadowing here as to the power of a wall as Xiaoxu in this top side now. Really fancying himself. Takes an extra turret shot there, but one more auto plus a Q. Flandre might end up falling under that turret. Vampire found in mid lane.
Oh, he got the stun after everything. Now the wall comes through, but the phase rush is going to get him out to safety, but that's a little bit of a taste of what can happen.
Yeah, phase rush plus ghost, and now this is a rise with no flashes. Anivia is about to hit level 6. This is now the problem pinch point that AL are going to have to try to address. JDG are going to have so much success just constantly rinsing and repeating their way back into this mid lane and putting Shanks further and further behind, playing around this LCP import mid lane. You can see HongQ zoning him away, trying to zone him off of experience. 1 Q lands and Shanks dies under the turret here.
Oh my god, he got him. He's dead.
There you go.
That's a solo bolo for that LCP transfer, HongQ.
And that's just it, right? The Anivia versus Ryze is such a good matchup, and you can see there's an element of mastery here from HongQ. He's playing the goated Anivia skin. He knows the combos, and he knows as well to fire the wall at the same time as your Q. The wall acts as a mini stun, so you can't act to dodge it, and it just gives you almost a guaranteed connection on that Q. He weaves in an auto attack as well, which is the final piece of damage that he needs. Phase rush out to safety, and it's just a clinical dive from this new transfer into the LPL. He was hyped up from Worlds, and coming into the mid lane of the LPL, he's showing why.
Absolutely is. A little bit control ward fight coming down here on the AL. But my god, we even made in Demacia Cup a graphic about all the birds that HongQ likes to play. Yeah. And so far the birds are working out for him. There's going to be the Realm Warp. They're going to try to collapse onto Gala. Gala's going to run back over to his team. Beautifully spell shields the charge from Tarzan. Now HongQ is here. He's level 6. You got to be really careful about these walls. He's going to lay down the Tundra. I don't know, though. Gala is still waiting on the side here. Vampire tries to get away. Now the rest of AL going to try to collapse. They are split. They're going to get the flash play out of Tarzan. They're going to get the kill onto JunJia here. Will get the Scuttle Crab in the end. Crescent Guard his way away for just a moment, but will eventually die to Shanks.
Yeah, JDG still working on that synergy a little bit here as they decide to split into 2-2s that ultimately get collapsed upon, not quite able to find the same teamfight success as they did around the Baron in game number 1. And it does secure a quick kill over to Shanks here. A little bit more success and a little bit more chance for him to survive in that mid lane. He goes forward, picks up some Swifty shoes, which are actually going to work overtime versus the Anivia. Again, a lot of slows coming into her kit and hopefully being able to walk out of the ulti a lot quicker than anything else. But you can see here, just standing and tanking it. Keeps himself walled in, but he's not got too much damage just yet. But this Ryze, you can see, even without that, doing pretty well.
Dude, he's playing like a purple version of Sonic at this point. He's got
Yeah.
Swifties, Ghost, Phase Rush.
He got me
run
quick.
around like crazy.
This is true.
Old man is spry, all right?
Gone for as much of the as much movement speed as possible. And I mean, we started this series off, Lennon, by saying that this was going to be another chapter written in the bot lane between these two, marksmen in the LPL who have had their fair share of stories. Unfortunately, I think that the Sivir versus Varus matchup isn't one that lends itself to having a new legacy story being written, that new chapter that is particularly exciting, let's say. And the way that this series has progressed as well, it's largely been about HongQ and about JunJia.
Yeah.
JunJia decided to throw his life away for a Scuttle Crab, and HongQ decided that he was going to solo kill his enemy. So there's really good stories and bad stories.
I just think it's been so incredibly awesome to watch HongQ's growth over last year at the internationals, even in the LCP on that CFO roster, and the big carry moments he was able to rise towards, and in his own picks, in his own style as well. But you also think about the way that this guy has entered into the LPL itself. He's still kept his same style. I mean, when you get praise from the GOAT Faker, I think that goes a long way to show your character and the way that you at least play the game. And I think we're seeing that a lot in the LPL.
We are indeed, and I'm just seeing the power of this Anivia, man. This champ is so OP, and nobody plays it, especially in these situations where you have immobile carries. What does a Rise do? Imagine you're playing this versus Yone. Yone hops over your wall or hops into you when you throw a Q out, like you just get absolutely slammed. A Rise just doesn't have that capability. It's so daunting to try and find a way to play this game for Shanks and for Hope as well.
I also just think it's something else that came through, and since it's the Tabe Bowl, I get the right to talk about anything Tabe related in AL. It was something that Tabe brought up in some of his extensive interviews, is that the picks weren't always there. What they needed wasn't always available to the players he had at hand. And I'm not saying HongQ solves all that, but damn, having an Anivia just blind, at least there, not blind pick, but using it as a counter pick. Super, super strong, and Tabe's loving the weapons he has.
Having it in the pool, and this is why, he really enjoyed playing with Flandre as well, right? He was the pioneer of the tank Jace in the earlier parts of Demacia Cup through 2025. One of the reasons that he was really keen to pick up Flandre last year was because of those champion pools, and you can see the shades of why we're picking up these compositions once again of players. But AL hitting this dragon now, first one to fall if it goes their way, but JunJia sniffing around.
JunJia did take the time to take the grubs over there, so they did get the permanent. A beautiful use of the wall, plus the Crescent Guard. I don't know which one stopped it, but something did. Unfortunately, Vampire's going to fully miss that one, and does take a chunk back after the Chains of Corruption come through. Still, all is right as rain. We've had an objective trade, a permanent 3 grubs there for JDG, but the 1 dragon early stacking for AL.
I mean, if that doesn't show you the power that this composition has, and the ways in which JDG just raw counter anyone's legend in this game, I don't really know what will. Like 3 different ways of disrupting the engage of a Poppy is always going to be dangerous for the Poppy. And now HongQ again T-posing on Shanks in the mid lane, just stepping up, taking him down. And Shanks, he took Ghost this game. He's got no TP, so he's going to have to rely on being bailed out by Kael. But even in this 2 versus 1, I don't know that it's going to be too easy for him to get these minions.
I think it's just so tough to even step up, and Kael, like, he can't even take that, because with being a squishy enchanter, you take that damage too, and you're going down quick. So, really tough position to be in.
Is at this stage in the game, HongQ has a blasting wand. A large majority of his gold has been spent on mana and health at this stage, but Rod of Ages gets stacked, then the Seraphs get stacked. He isn't going for the malignant kill you early Anivia build. This is I'm chilling and sitting and scaling kind of build, and he's still handling Shanks in this way. So you really do have to question, what it is that AL can do with this game, because again, the builds have been identical. You can see that HongQ is going for the tier rod, Shanks is going for tier rod as well, but Shanks, just in order to sustain this mid lane, has had to spend 1,000 gold on some shoes. That just isn't the same case for HongQ.
Well, now he'll take the 3 grubs. And there goes that Rod of Ages, like you're saying. Although I will say Shanks is going to be right there behind it. But, yeah, we're already getting multiple first item spikes coming across on both sides. We already had that Yumu's completed for Hope. But more importantly, that mid-jungle duo for JDG is going to have theirs going here, so I expect a little bit more tempo in their play as well. But there won't be another big objective for a while, so it's got to come through to lane ganks, and Tarzan's trying to protect his bot side as much as he can.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we're once again looking at a can hope carry situation, and this time round he's playing lethality Varus, and for my money this champion just can't 5v5 the same as really any marksman that we tend to see being given into the LPL. So whether or not that ends up translating into a successful team fight later on for AL, I will be very surprised if so. I think the good thing for this mid lane is that currently Shanks has reached the stage where he can kind of ignore the Anivia now and just clear the waves in her face. As long as he dodges Q, he doesn't lose too much HP. But again, as this game gets later, big question marks for how AL are going to look to be able to play this out. So far, they are 500 gold to the good. They are looking strong with that first dragon, but they need to continue to push the pace of this game, right? They are looking to hopefully pick up some neutral objectives. Beyond just that dragon, the Herald spawning in 2 minutes is going to be a big indicator for me, because if they can finish that bot tier 1 turret, maybe try and get a little bit more gold into Hope's pocket, because he's secured a large gold lead from just that 1 assist and a load of the plates that have gone down. So would like to see this Varus unleashed and maybe Hope continue to be a real strong point of this composition.
All right, well then I got to ask you, many minutes from now, in the far future that is this game, in a 5-on-5 mono-a-mono fight, who do you favor?
If at parity, it's easily JDG. The composition is just so much better. Like they beat AL in every type of fight that they try and take. It's not even close, right? That's why AL are the ones who need to push the pace of this game and try and get some gold early on.
Well, we'll see if they can keep their little bank sum that they've gotten for them, as HongQ continues to take turret plates. We have seen a late adaptation with our ADCs going to mid lane now, and we will be starting to get those quests coming through as well.
Gala has not yet quested, which is not ideal for him. I know we've talked a little bit about on the LPL that not finishing your quest does put you a little bit further behind. Once you finish your quest as a marksman, you get more gold per unit kill. So for this time being, every CS secured is a win.
What a last-second choice from HongQ to back off to not get hit by the charge into the wall, and now he is going to get locked down on the back end of it, but he's got JunJia coming with him. He's still got Egg. Gets out with his life here. JunJia needs to be a little bit careful, but he's got the rest of the team coming. Tempered Fate is available as well. Tarzan going to queue it up, but can't end up getting that Keeper's Verdict through. Now the Egg will be popped. HongQ gets stuck. JunJia is just watching while his teammate is scrambled like a morning breakfast, and now JDG get caught by the Chains of Corruption on the back end, but won't be able to follow it up is AL. They have struck gold on the bot side, though.
Yeah, excellent work from Anyone's Legend, despite the fact that they have to chase through this Anivia field and really try and work their way through it. Shout out to Hope here for his 2,500th kill in the LPL. Very well done for him. Congratulations on reaching number 12 all time. And it will result in a dragon going their way as well, as Xiaoxu now on this top side looking for Flandre.
Ooh, good to have the needlework proc. They're going to do a decent amount of damage. Flandre will have his shield coming right back up, but we are all sprinting up to this top side with the Rift Herald having been spawned. AL want to take first priority over that.
Yeah, and they're going to need to they're going to need to start pushing again with these neutral objectives. The fact that we're still waiting for JDG to really hit that true ascended point means that in these team fights they should be favoured, right? A 1.5 item Varus is going to do much better as Xiaoxu insta-flash. Shades of game 1 where we had to see Shanks do the same thing, and he gets a little bit of revenge there from the on the Gwen, but even still he TP's in, massive HP shield, which is still vibing, and now he gets to work in and try and help his team take the Herald.
I will say though, JDG, they got first turret on the bot side. I mean, they are already done with that, and the other turrets are not even really close besides mid lane, and that's also in their favor. So able to slink back the gold advantage to their side. It's dead even now though, and I'm very curious that AL kind of left the map to this Rift Herald going to JDG.
Yeah, there was a point probably 2-3 minutes ago where Hope was like 1,000 gold up over Gala. Since then, now that gold lead is largely
Keeper's Verdict. Oh, he got hit.
Moving away the jungler. Yoinkies,
Oh,
thank you.
Tarzan dodging out of the Tempter Fate 2. My goodness, he just put on a clinic of how to approach Rift Herald, except they won't be able to get the eye.
Well, not quite yoinkies and not quite thank you, but it's no herald for you, which I guess is the second best thing here that they could hope for. I'm just going to watch it slowly
Not
descend
even like
back into the void.
Shanks has Realm Orb, so he can't even do it.
Trade of turrets, though, down on this bot side, as now Flandre's going to be able to take that tier 1 turret back. It is going to come at the cost of a lot of plates for Xiaoxu on that top side. And I think that for the Gwen here, already at that Rift Maker, we'll see whether or not that continuation of damage is going to be built up. I mean, Dusk and Dawn must be an absolutely incredible item for Gwen as well, given it's got that Spellblade proc on it. We'll see whether or not it gets picked up within any real time for Xiaoxu. And now, a little bit of journeying from Flandre there. He walks in, has a little check, and spots nothing. Okay.
This is like, hello.
I thought he was, you know, in a real bad spot.
Yeah. Lanes are a little bit split as of now. We've had now Xiaoxu up with Shanks. Shanks trying to get something more than just fighting a bird, but he's going to lose here. Forced to use the Realm Orb to get to safety. And honestly, Shanks, he's struggling to find any kind of precipice to stand on this game.
I mean, Ryze is not a 1v1 champion that as much as Gwen is. This is a staple. He can't fight a Gwen 1v1, and the Anivia counters him 1v1 as well, so really taking any sort of side lane duels isn't tantamount to success for Shanks this game. He needs to, as we saw from game number 1, play with his team and try and have that front line. Last time in game 1 they didn't have the front line to stand tall for them. In game number 2 he does. So use your team, make sure that they're helping you out, and these 5 versus 5s, maybe you can look to do the DPS.
A big maybe, but team play comes first. As I just saw a second item coming through for at least most everybody. I was trying to see if everybody was going to make it, but unfortunately jungles are a little bit behind, as well as supports, obviously. But he gets stopped right in his tracks as well.
Zeke's Convergence Flandre is a new one. But we'll see if this ends up using or doing any good.
I'm here for the Edge of Night on Hope.
That I like, because he then gets at least something blocked when these engages start to try to come through. But, I mean, Zeke's Convergence, probably an okay item on Sion as the game gets a little bit later. But not versus
That's not
an
what
Anivia.
we want.
It's just not versus an Anivia, right? You're trying to ulti in and get the AoE slow on people, that makes sense. But if Anivia has wall, you can't ult. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot about Anivia this game, Mazel, but like
I'm here for it, man.
It's going to define the game.
Nobody else in the LPL is going to pick Anivia. At least.
I think they may do after this game. I think they're going to see the power of this, and then they will.
But inherently, they would not.
No,
so I love
fair.
that. Maybe this is what the LPL needs. We need to start thinking about our crazy picks more than just our crazy gameplay. As we're getting set up for this dragon here, Rude.
Good poke early doors from the Mantra Q. We need to see if Hope can put some of that down as well with those piercing arrows. No Muro mana just yet. Does mean that it's a little bit lacking in terms of where you might want it to be. But the dragon has spawned, and backs are coming through from the people laning in topside. We'll see if they choose to TP in. Obviously, TP for Flandre are going to be much better than the TP that will come through from HongQ, just by nature of the great big shield that he's going to get as well. And that TP is the case. Good pop there.
Double TP coming in. They did get the Tempered Fade. Vampire can't hit the CC chain. That's so tough. He immediately gets away from the Chains of Corruption. Now Shanks is in some trouble. He's laying some damage into Gala. JunJia is on the other side of the fight. Xiaoxu entering from the other side, the far side from everybody else. But now JDG, they're collapsing. It might be a fight over the scuttle. Xiaoxu.
Start slowly. Here comes that poke, though. This is where you're favoring AL in these drawn-out fights.
Oh, JunJia just tries to pull the trigger there. Doesn't really get anything with his Crescent Guard and does have to flash away after getting the 3-town strike. Now Xiaoxu is the focus. JunJia, he tries to go in after Xiaoxu. Buys a little bit of time, but the Keeper's Verdict from Tarzan does wonders. And what did I tell you about this man's Poppy? It must be afraid of for JDG, and that might just be the dragon number 3 going to anyone's legend.
It certainly should be here, as with no jungler in sight, no jungler on the rift, it's anyone's legend putting themselves to soul point, and Ocean soul point at that. They obviously have themselves a massive, massive front line in Tarzan, in Flandre, so an Ocean soul on top of that is going to look very, very good. But if JDG cannot find these clean engages, if Vampire is going to whiff on his skill shots, no Tempered Fate here means that the game is so much harder. It means that their engages are largely reliant on AL overstepping here. HongQ is forced to flash out on that top side, but JunJia uses his ulti very early here. He can't save it though because he knows that he's just going to get taken down by the carries. Tarzan flashes in, finds the route into the wall, and as soon as double flash comes through from Hope, a double Keeper's Verdict is more than enough to sign the way this fight. 2-0, I believe, in the back end, but Hope and the rest of anyone's legend with a very, very nice start to these full-on skirmishes. 2,500 gold lead for them, or 2k as it is now. It's looking good, and they need it to.
Yeah, they absolutely do. From the draft, though, I was so skeptical about this Vampire Bard, and he has yet to really amaze me just yet. Now maybe he gets another catch, but JunJia's already dead as he pops his Crescent Guard, and I think JDG is just going to fully lose this fight as well. Gala gets locked down immediately. He gets away there, though, with that Kael's, and this is AL. It's going to be looking for even more objectives. This time, if they lose this is a hefty prize.
Mazel, there's no jungler on the map. This is time for AL to start putting their money where their mouth is. Let's be decisive. Let's try and take this Baron. HongQ going to try and walk in. He's got Vampire by his side. Xiaoxu going to try and do the same thing, but I don't think they can get through the Scion in the time that the Baron's going to take to go down.
They're going to try, I guess. There's a Keeper Verdict kicking him
out
immediately. He got so much damage there. Xiaoxu is cutting him down here, but he does need to be a little careful with his health bar because now they're turning right back on him, and HongQ gets locked down as well. Flandre able to find an angle on him there. HongQ's going to try to run back over, still has the egg available. Meanwhile, this entire time, JunJia was respawning, so that means no Baron for AL. And honestly, JDG, they live to fight another day.
That's a hero play from Xiaoxu if I ever saw one. He just went in 1v5, destroyed Hope, and then ultimately falls on the back half of it, but he could have definitely lived if he chose to. I think they were trying to search for a little bit more on that fight, and again, if certain skill shots had have gone their way, they probably could have found it. JunJia, though, no vision, just dashing onto a Karma. Honestly, a pretty illegal play from him. Gets caught out, ends up falling. Realm Warp comes through, and Gala decides that he doesn't want to go through that portal, which ends up costing him the kills from Vampire. But then we see in the back half of this that I think AL, again, caught in two minds. They could just sacrifice Flandre, secure the Baron. They do it fast enough with the Rise if they wanted to. But instead, Xiaoxu, look at him here, just like a man on a mission, straight into Hope, tear him to pieces. And in the back half of this, yeah, there's a few skill shots that go wide. I mean, I think that JDG could have probably looked for a lot more here. Vampire, there's a first Q miss there. Q from HongQ doesn't quite connect in the back half. Q from Vampire also misses. And if those connects, you're doing a lot more damage, getting a lot more CC, and maybe could have found a little bit more out of that. But when I say that in these 5v5s, it's going to be difficult for anyone's legend, this is why. Because as soon as the compositions come to bear, there is just an advantage in the way they play out for JDG.
And now about a 2,000 gold lead, ahead about a minute and 15 second setup around the dragon for that soul. It would be an Ocean soul, so it gives them so much more sustain in these long-term fights if they want it with the poke of the Varus. We'll see them taking position around this mid lane to get set up for this fight. JDG need this one, and they got to find a way to enter.
Yeah, and it's going to be tricky as well. No Infinity Edge for Gala, no Void Staff yet for HongQ. I think those are the big ticket items that we're looking at. If they get picked up, that maybe they can start to take these 5v5s a little bit more convincingly, because at the minute it has been very wishy-washy, very much a case of we don't know who's going to come out on top at any given time. They're going to try and find a window for Gala to recall. You have to imagine that he's got the Infinity Edge in base if he's taking a recall with the Drake up in 30 seconds. And then sprint his way back out onto the map. Finds that item in his inventory. Back out now, and that's a good sign. HongQ has got TP as well, so if he can find Void Staff money and go back to base, then even better. And then that fight can look even greater for them. Worth saying as well, though, Hope has that Muramana being picked up. 3 items for the Varus. Nothing to scoff at. We'll see whether or not he can lay down that poke at all.
We see the vision play here. AL going to try to enter all together. They are going to get caught as they enter, though. Who's going to win this battle? I think the poke is starting to win out. Beautiful flash from JunJia, but Flandre is here. He's got that big shield from the TP. Xiaoxu has found the angle on the Shanks, but Shanks going to get out with the round warp. Now Flandre has to try to get out, uses the unstoppable onslaught to use a little bit of room, but Gala is starting to cut him up. He's just throwing daggers at him at this point, though. Flandre very, very tanky. Tarzan was looking for an angle, but Tarzan gets pushed out. A lot of this AoE damage really starting to sink as JDG gonna look for it. Keeper's Verdict comes out. He gets walled off. He can't do it. He goes for the flash. He doesn't get it. It's gonna be the Dragon focus now. 50-50 between JunJia and Tarzan, but JDG want to make sure it's not. Xiaoxu gonna pull Tarzan off of the fight. JunJia realizes he needs to go in to help kill him. He gets one. He's gonna look for a second on the Flandre. Can't do it. They do end up finding the cleanup, though, with the help of Xiaoxu. Now JunJia's gonna find hope. He needs one more 3-talent strike, but can't do it. They've lost both junglers now. HongQ is still in the pit of the dragon, though there's a lot of damage that can come through. Hope with a lot of poke. Hope looking for the egg kill. Almost gets a double there, but he gets popped by Anivia. And now the dragon is the focus for JDG. Kael trying to get something. Can he get the mantra Q? It's not. He's going to run away. The dragon goes over to JDG.
God, Mazel. It is chaos, it is carnage, but boy, for JDG, if it is not cathartic as all hell, they have just saved their game here, keeping themselves on the brink of life by finding that soul, denying anyone's legend the ocean. And I think, Mazel, that fight going their way is the beginning of the end for anyone's legend. Their fight would be so much more difficult for JDG up against an Ocean Soul, but they stop it. Now with that Infinity Edge online, now with the Void Staff being able to come through, they're going to have those items in their back pocket. Wall from HongQ, zones away all 4 members, they can get this early chip damage down onto Flandre, but this entire time, it's just a game of attrition. This war between the two sides of the poke from Hope and the redemption coming through to give them more HP, and the consistent rattling of damage from Gala, and these walls constantly cycling people in and out. Yeah. Looking at live though, looks like they found more. The Drake does go to JDG in the end, but they stop that soul, but we need to go back.
They are just rebuffing a little bit of the advance from JDG. They're ahead of the Baron pit, but my God, there was desperation reeking from AL in that fight. I mean, that flash from Tarzan tried to get the Keeper's Verdict. So tough to watch as they almost get caught out by the Tempered Fate there. Do use some fancy feet to get away from it. JDG, they're threatening now.
I mean, once again, 3 items on Xiaoxu. He's been a massive threat through these team fights. Doesn't really matter who he's targeting. They seem to fall pretty much instantly. He went for the Zhonya's on 3, which gives him, you know, a little bit more safety. But you have to imagine we're going to get that Rabadon's coming through pretty darn quickly. And at that stage, you fear for anybody who's going to look to try and challenge this Gwen if she doesn't get locked down, if that CC from pretty much everybody isn't there. You start to worry about how well they can survive in these fights. And JDG here finding themselves with a very, very nice outlook on the game. 2,500 gold to the good. Zone control is massive as well.
It's interesting. I mean, this definitely looks like a more contentious AL, just zooming out for a second, because this AL team is trying to function together. I think some of the pieces just aren't fitting together super well, but Tarzan is leading from the front, trying to do so yet again. Can't get the charge into anybody except for JunJia, but JunJia is the focus. Crescent Guard goes down, the healing is starting, and Shanks is already half health on the side of the fight. Tarzan's out of there too. Vampire misses his shot again. How many of these Qs are we going to see miss from Vampire?
Yeah, it's not a good look for Vampire this game, but fortunately enough, he's got the rest of his team by his side who are having heaters. HongQ again on this Anivia doing massive work to just disrupt the fight for anyone's legend, and the circles of no fun for Hope continue to plague him here as JunJia just tries to take down the front line successfully. Does a large amount of damage, doesn't quite manage to find that first kill. But it's still looking like JDG are going to send us to a 2-0 victory here. I think that anyone's legend losing out on that Drake fight really costs them quite heavily. As their game gets later, their scaling relies exclusively on Shanks and maybe the front line that Flandre can be, but it's been a story as old as time that damage outweighs the tankiness as we get later on into this game. And Gala, 3.5 items. He's still got 2.5 left to build. If this game gets mega late, if we get to, you know, 600 CS silver win conditions, we might end up seeing these gigantic team fights from Gala.
Yeah, we could, and we do have a couple other item completions. Zanya's just came through for Shanks. That Crypt Bloom instead of that Void Staff for HongQ as well. Interestingly enough, you also have the GA now completed for JunJia, and so he'll be able to play with his life a little bit more. And we see that work out for them in game number 1, being a little bit more aggressive with plays. Now, something to think about on the map, though, Baron is available, yes, but even more importantly for JDG and AL, Dragon in less than a minute.
Yeah, and I think that the time dancing around this Baron is pretty much over. I think for JDG, they need to start turning their attention down to that bot side. There are a couple of lingering wards that are still there from anyone's legend that do need to get swept out, and you can see pretty much on cue here, they've looked to take those down. Good little bit of poke from Kael, takes a little bit of HP off of Gala, and as Flandre TP's in, a wind becomes lightning, doesn't even tickle the guy. And now it's all about this poke coming through. Good early piercing arrow. Again, any damage that you can get down onto HongQ is going to stick.
I really want to see Xiaoxu use his TP, because you got to remember now, with top lane TPs, you get a giant shield. Flandre will not have his. It's going to fall. Xiaoxu will have that advantage, but if they catch out Tarzan, maybe it doesn't matter. They're going to try to move over. Xiaoxu gets chunked by Hope. You can see damage with that Shireldias and everything from Hope is starting to sink as the dragon does spawn. You got to remember, AL don't need this, but their timing and the time that's left in this game is not on their side. There's that TP, and it will be Xiaoxu who's going to use that big tanky shield as they lock down Flandre. He's going to go straight onto Shanks, turn around, look how much damage he does. Tempered Fate goes wide again. Come on, Vampire. As you see the dragon reset there yet again. AL is now rebuffed. They are scared to step forward, and that dragon is just going to go to JDG.
Yep, they stop the recall of Flandre. He doesn't have TP to get back in anyway, and once again it is a one fight for Jindong Gaming. This posturing around the bot side river doing just enough for JDG to make their way through again. Piercing arrows not quite landing for Hope. Every time they connect, they do a good amount of damage, but it needs to be off cooldown. The second one of them goes wide, that's 12 seconds without any damage coming through from anyone's legend, and that's ultimately too much of time being wasted here. As now JDG return their attention back up to that top side. Let's start now this Baron dance once again.
And I gotta say, a little thing there is, I've been waiting to see the utilization of these quests and where they can kind of be the bend and break situation. Watching Flandre use his TP so early there, I love what JDG did with the shield that Xiaoxu gets. He can tank so damn much, and it's just a little nuance. I know I'm nerding out a little bit, but I find it so interesting in this new age of League of Legends that we have, as they are just continuing that dance.
League of Legends has long been a game of inches, seconds, and small, minute amounts, and the things like a big shield being teleported in on is going to be pretty massive, and you know, in one of these team fights, it could very well be the difference maker as HongQ takes a big boatload of damage from the Kael Hope bot lane duo. Posturing over this red buff again. How do AL ever walk in here?
Tarzan just going into the thick of things there. Another Tipper Fist going to hit onto JunJia. It got worse as he's going to balk a little bit of time here. There's a nice charge from Tarzan. They did. He still has his egg. He's got time. Realm Warp coming in now from Shanks on the other side of the fight. Keeper Verdict goes through. They can't get Gala out. Gala's stuck. I'm pretty sure that was a mess, like something happened there. He could not move that entire fight. He was stuck in the wall, and that will just be AL swiping that lead right away from JDG.
They've got 45-second death timers here, Len, and AL are not looking for the Baron. They're looking to do some serious structural damage to JDG. And I mean, they're pinging the inhibitor at the minute. It looks like it's an inhib then out angle for anyone's legend. They know that the Baron is the key piece of the pie here that they need to get, and I'm glad to see that they've sort of turned their attention back up here. I actually think they could have gone for a little bit more. I think the Baron is, you know, very much a formality in this case. Tier 2 turret probably could have been taken. But instead, they're going to turn their attention up to this big purple worm, find that without any real recompense.
Watch Tarzan. Tarzan is playing mind games here.
He is, and I don't quite know how he goes into 3 people, lives, and then gets to walk back out, but you can see a great sidestep from Tarzan, dodges out on the Tempered Fate, and then he flashes over, sees the angle onto HongQ, and he should see this, he should know this is coming, that the Anivia is not safe on this angle. Gets caught out, but fortunately not in a good position.
So
and he's
how
stunned.
Did he get stuck there?
Gala's just CC'd this entire time.
The rune prison.
And even still, he's going to take the wall into 3 members waiting of AL. I don't think it saves him if he gets out at that late stage, but the fact that he lives for so long in that that is a pretty big win in the first place. Not that it's a win overall, and JDG find themselves now back in the disadvantageous position of having to look at anyone's legend staring at them with Baron, but I think repeating that for AL is very difficult. It's largely down to Keeper's verdict, and Tarzan once again plays with AL's game in his hands.
Live by the man, die by the man. And honestly, I'm just happy to see them thriving on a similar style to what we've seen them been so successful with. JunJia is going to need to be a little careful.
Very greedy to go for that red buff. He does manage to do it successfully, and somehow JDG are the ones that are taking objectives at this stage as they find themselves a tier 2 turret on the top side. And you expect that to be traded with the Baron in their back pockets, but HongQ now to channel his recall does have the verdant barrier in his back pocket, so has another layer of safety now being added on. Finishes that and turns it into a Banshees. Again, looking at these item thresholds, item breakpoints, Hope formally at full items. Still, fortunately though, season 16, 26, whichever one we're in, has got an extra item slot for AD carries, so he's going to be able to work his way through to another item, and Gala not quite with that BT being finished is 4.5, not quite 5 items just yet.
But I would take a 5-item Sivir over a 5-item Lethality Varus any day. Now, we do have another timer coming up, and backs are coming through. That might end up being Gala's completion of his 5th item, but the Dragon is in 25 seconds. Flandre again uses the early TP, and Xiaoxu will have his. He's level 20, and so is Flandre.
So this TP shield, again, for Flandre does last quite a while. We'll see if it ends up being utilized, because looking at this, Flandre's got a 1k HP shield from the Kaenic, and then there's the extra shields that are coming through from that TP as well. Now, Gala has BT, so any poke is going to get sustained up very easily. And this poke from Hope is starting to matter. They found Xiaoxu.
Xiaoxu got completely caught here. He's locked down. He goes golden. Tempered Fate's going to buy a little bit of time. Really nice dodge from Xiaoxu. Meanwhile, though, the rest of his team just got baited in, and Vampire is gone. Shanks finds the kill on the Xiaoxu, and JDG are just getting caught with their hands down, and unfortunately not on their keys.
Yeah. Again, AL just playing these scrappy skirmishes that little bit better. This is what they've done so well throughout the entirety of last year. It's claw their way back into these fights where they probably shouldn't have an opportunity to do so, but they do. Now steaming through the bot lane. The turret will fall, but versus Sivir and Ivia, probably never going to get access to the Nexus turrets here. So it's just going to be an inhibitor. They will resort back to that Ocean Soul, but if they spend too long here, this is going to give an opportunity for a respawn. Gala can come through. He can work his way out onto the map very quickly with that Tempered Fate, but Realm Warp,
easy.
Excellent stuff. This is Soul now for anyone's legend, and that just made the team fights even harder for JDG.
And I hope we get to go back to a replay of how Xiaoxu got caught, but really big pick, because he is kind of the trap door in a lot of these fights for JDG, and AL realized that.
He's been doing so much work in these team fights, and it's just walking, and he goes for a pink ward, spots Tarzan, and they just don't waste any time. Really solid execution on this. The damage from Shanks is now present, is now there. Credit for trying to get him out to safety, but Shanks is able to follow up with the flash and the ghost hit. Movement speed still there.
And Vampire just getting caught in transition there. Unfortunately, I just got to say it's been a tough game for Vampire. But a really good game for Kael, although quiet. A lot of poke from him.
0-0-12, like you
not too bad. Not
Always
too
a good
bad.
sign for your Enchanter players to be able to preserve their life as well, recognize what's important. And I mean, as a Karma, there's never any reason to be in threat, right? Your job is to fire spells at range, is to shield up your enemies who are, or your opponents, your allies. There we go, there's the word. Shield up your allies as they're looking to try and take down the enemies. And again, Kael, on a Karma, there's not too many flashy things that you can do, but staying alive is about as good as it gets.
And at this point, I mean, we talked so heavily that JDG just have that like better late game comp, but when you keep getting caught like this, little pieces start going awry, and AL just finds so much advantage, and now you have that lack of confidence to step up or have that team fight around this. And I think JDG is going to need to overcome that if they want to try to come back in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about it beautifully, right? Like they theoretically do have this better scaling composition, but they're scaling up against an Ocean Soul, up against insane shields and the poke that if they can never get in, they're going to struggle to try to find. we haven't really seen this wall be that great an impact in the mid to late game of this one. And JunJia, again, greeding to try and find a little bit of a red buff here. Tarzan does take a lot of his HP, but you have to remember that he's going to be Ocean Souling this one back on up. You need to see a little bit more from HongQ in this mid to late game. I'm going to be honest, because his wall will decide this game. If he finds a good one, then it's going to change it.
By the way, I was going to say Chains of Corruption is down, but it's almost back up. So, you know, you can literally see it clicking like a clock around the circle there. The only thing that is not going to be up is that Keeper's Verdict for Tarzan. That has been a massive tool for AL here in this game.
And whether or not it continues to be will, again, live and die by AL's captain from 2025. The shot caller for this composition, and the call right now is go to Baron. JunJia forced to use this before his Q from HongQ comes through. And that's just going to be Baron here.
Was that just one Q? Oh, it was the ult Q, so it was all 3 Blight stacks. Dang, that's a lot of damage. Well, JDG have one final resting place, and it might be in their base. This Baron buff is going to continue to barrel down the structures of JDG.
And this is, again, as much as we highlight the fact that this is, you know, the Sivir late game dream almost, I don't know that you're going to have enough to get through the ocean shielding, the 9,000 HP Flandre who's just stepping up at you. 2-level advantage because of that top lane quest, and Anivia in this late game really good for utility, but not the greatest when it comes to the damage, especially with this build where we've got 2 really defensive items being picked up in that Crypt Plume, in that Banshee's Veil, and JunJia once again getting caught by these Chains of Corruption, this time forced to flash.
We see them pushing now. Flandre does get caught, but Gala gets chunked by Hope now. Tarzan going in for the fight here. Shanks is about half health now, but they're going to try to get Xiaoxu down. Xiaoxu's healing is crazy. He was invulnerable for a little bit. Crimson Guard's going to come out. A lot of damage coming through from Gala, but HongQ is down. Hope found him, and another arrow strikes through the chest of JDG, piercing their hearts and piercing this game number 2. That is a massive performance from AL to come back in this game, to harness that power, and a triple kill comes through for Hope as the last signaling of this game too is upon us. Xiaoxu is going to re-get into the base and try to at least stave this off for a moment, but the turrets are not going to last very long. They're going to throw up the panda emotes, and we're going to move on to game 3.
Oh, we absolutely are, Mazel, and I started this game by saying that Varus versus Sivir was not going to be a linchpin of this game, but Hope decided that he was not having any of that narrative. Finds the Chain of Corruption on HongQ in the back half of the game, takes him down, and again, that fighting point for anyone's legend, just proving that in the clutch they can come up with a game victory. And you look at this point, or this game, different snapshots in the game, and you're thinking, JDG are going to win it, no, AL are going to win it, then JDG might win, and then we get this constant back and forth. We get the flipping and flopping around of this series, that gold graph going up and down, and we turn ourselves to a game number 3 where we get to see now the power of these two sides when, again, it comes up to the clutch. They played 3-game series yesterday. Both of them came out with a loss. This time round, they need to sign, seal, deliver.
1-1 in the Tabe poll. It's all for Tabe's love. Whoever wins gets it. No, I don't think that's how that works. Like, unfortunately, I think that would break contracts. But yeah, it's still interesting nonetheless, and a very different, prolonged style from AL in this game number 2. Again, something that we've seen from them before in 2025. I do really appreciate that JDG didn't necessarily change their style all that much in terms of attacking the earlier game, but also having some options as they move forward. But there were just a couple catch-outs that really made the difference here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's all about those early dragons, right? That Ocean Soul going their way is just such a massive boost for AL through these fights. I'm pretty sure without Ocean Soul, that game looks entirely different. The amount of healing that they get from that was crazy. You look at Flandre just standing in the front line, taking several autos from a Sivir. In the late game, even a Sion shouldn't be able to stand up to that, but he's able to withstand just about enough using the Ocean Soul and using the Soul Furnace to get him up there. If one of those early dragons had gone a different way, maybe this is a completely different outlook on the game. But again, it's Keeper's Verdict, it's Tarzan, it's anyone's legend rallying behind their star jungler, who has proven once again why he is such a big name and so feared in this league.
Hey, what I tell you about his Poppy, baby. I know Poppy looks really good right now, but his Poppy.
To quote Mazel, this guy has the best Poppy in the world.
In the world. It's just so.
To paraphrase Mazel.
Especially in that topside play where he's like throwing his body on the line, then leaves, comes back, finds so much influence. I think it's just so interesting. The cerebral nature that he brings to the Poppy pick. But can't pick Poppy again, so we'll have to see what Tarzan wants to do for that game number 3. I do expect similar picks for both junglers in terms of that kind of bruiser-ish style coming through, because it just tends to lead out to the way they like to play the game.
Yeah, it gives them an opportunity to make things happen early on. It gives them agency through the mid to late game, and I think that was what we were missing here this time around. JunJia on the Xin Zhao, lacking that agency as we got later on into the game. The Xin Zhao, obviously that champion that is very one-dimensional as you move later on. He got outclassed by champion diff because Poppy can do so much more than a Xin Zhao. It
helps when you have a 5th member on your team, all right? I'm just saying, Vampire, you ain't playing Bard again, all right? You aren't on. You can't go 0-9 and win games. Unfortunately, it did not work for him.
Yeah, I mean, as much of a denial pick as it was from Kael, you can see very clearly in the gameplay that unfortunately Vampire didn't quite have what it took to pilot this pick as well as maybe we needed him to. And for going forward, obviously now Vampire can't play the Bard, which is a win.
Yes.
For JDG almost in this instance. So maybe with a 5th member again, this game goes completely differently. But fortunately for anyone's legend, this is how the game went, and we can talk about hypotheticals all we like. AL won the game. They forced us to a tiebreaker. They forced us to this decider, and I think that's going to be the real thing to take away from this. That actually doesn't really matter how a hypothetical we can try and theorize the game. What happened.
Speaking of hypotheticals, though, because I'm going to keep going down this rabbit hole, if HongQ builds like Void Staff and stuff instead of Crypt Bloom and then whatever the other supportive item he built was, does it make a difference? I don't feel like it makes that much of a difference.
I don't think it makes that much difference, but it's definitely tangible. I don't know if it wins them the game, but it's definitely something that could have worked, right? Like the idea of this Anivia was to try and play Disruption and then use Gala to be the massive DPS threat, and honestly for Xiaoxu to do it as well. We saw it here in this mid-game fight where he's level 15, destroys Hope. Fortunately, I think that then AL decided, actually, we can never let the Gwen do that again, and they were pretty solid at stopping that as well. So really good stuff from AL in terms of adaptation. But like you say, the hypothetical for JDG is, does the damage from Anivia actually matter? And I mean, at a certain point, I really do think it does. So again, different choices could have been made, but does then HongQ die a lot more frequently because he doesn't have these defensive items, you know? So
that's the beauty of hypotheticals. You can keep going.
We just keep on building.
Yeah, you keep a little count on some of the clips that we saw through here. It was not without a fight. Like, JDG went down swinging, but I still really, really love that we got to see kind of that righting of the ship that I literally talked about coming into the game and trying to figure out, like, is this AL really going to falter after what was a beautiful series against BLG just last night?
Yeah, I mean, they just might, unfortunately, is the answer here. And even though they won game number 2, game number 1 was obviously favoured by JDG, and there wasn't particularly a route back in for AL in that game. So them finding 2 losses against 2 really powerful teams in the LPL, again, not necessarily the start out to their year that they might want, but
I think this was the pick of the game, by the way.
Yeah, this turned it. This definitely turned it. This is what secured them the soul in the end, and that's what, you know, obviously made the game infinitely harder.
Memory lane, isn't it nice?
No. Sometimes.
I am still sad that HongQ didn't get a win on the Anivia. I do still love that he's picking. You could see the power. I mean, Shanks hated his life for the first half or more of this game, mostly because of HongQ. And I hope we still get to see that kind of style, even if it didn't end up getting the win here. I don't think it was singularly his fault, at least. But now we got a good player of the game for game 2. I think it's Tarzan.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be anybody fighting you on that one here. Very much likely to be that guy because he did just pop off pretty much throughout his keeper's verdict, saved them on multiple instances. So if it's not Tarzan, we'll be very sad. Argument for hope maybe for his team fighting late.
I guess,
it's
yeah,
just
I could
Tarzan.
see it. His poke was pretty nuts. So I think those are the only two that end up getting it. I still think it's funny that my little nerd geek out of the TPs didn't matter in the end. Like, it's just these little things, you know.
Yeah.
But Flandre on
matter,
the Scion, one day it will. Flandre on the Scion looked pretty good, but again, we felt like it had to be the Poppy, and just some of those micro movements in those fights were impeccable. So nice to see Tarzan pick up his second MVP.
I mean, we look at there was a fight in the red side jungle of Anyone's Legend where he sidesteps Vampire's ulti and actually ends up sealing JunJia's fate, right? Or it turns out to be HongQ that ends up dying, but if he doesn't sidestep that ulti, he can't then reposition on the flip side of the fight to walk around and flash and get HongQ stunned into the wall. So he did have good movement and he had excellent plays throughout this game, and it's a very, very real reason why they were able to turn this game around.
It was indeed. Well, that is it for game number 2. We get the ultimate showdown in the Tabe Bowl coming up next. Only one can walk away winner, JDG or AL. Who's going to walk away with a win on the other side of a loss from yesterday? We'll see you for